Hey, what is going on, everyone? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday, and you guys know what that means. It is time for the Friday feature. We have the newest community contributor to Legends, Mr. Ray Yukio. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong, but make sure you guys check out his channel. Ray is actually a dual CC. He is a PC CC, as well as the newest Legends community contributor. So make sure you guys head on over to Ray's channel. He streams, he posts videos. One of the most recent replays he got was actually in the Drake here, which is currently the XP record. I'm not sure about the damage, but definitely the XP record because the Drake is terrible. No, I'm just kidding. The Drake is one of those ships that it's definitely not a bad ship. It's just, to me, it finds a very weird spot in Legends. It's got insanely powerful guns, but with how just clunky that the ship is, the slow velocity of the shells, and the way that most games play out, I find myself wanting to be in literally any other Tier 8 cruiser. Now, that being said, for the long time, the Drake was one of the best performing cruisers, but to me, that metric has always been weird because if only, a select few of elite players who have reached the Tier 8 British, heavies play the ship, then of course the stats are going to be affected by that. But Mr. Ray is nearly an expert here, so of course he's going to make the Drake look good. He's in a division with Hippers Don't Lie, one of my favorite names in the game, and Mr. Popcorn, two excellent players. And this game comes down to the wire. He needed his team there. So when you're getting the bad matchmaking, the bad RNG, make sure you division up here. But Ray has put himself in a nearly perfect position out here on the side he spawned on. Of course, we are on Atlantic, capture the base, and that is when Mr. U.S. Sherman in the, I think it was a Haikuryu, decides to come after him in the carrier there. So definitely not a fun time when you get focused by the carrier, but you can see because of his positioning and his angling, he only took one torpedo, and that Lepanto with the kind of poor accuracy only got one penetration with a few missing. Again, we talked about it in our Hyuga video, and we've talked about it so many times before. Your position is so much more important than any sort of build, any sort of adjustments to RNG. But you can see that he just got hit with another torpedo. So this is not looking good for him. 2 torpedo hits, a damage con, but that is when those super heals come in handy. You can see Ray is already back up to 75, approximately 75% health. If you guys have not noticed by now, they are on the map Atlantic, which is one of my least favorite maps in the game, mainly for the reason of half of the time you play Atlantic, it is capture the base, which I think we can all agree is the worst game mode by far. Sometimes your potatoes will see the giant white circle in domination and stay on the correct side. I actually have to say Ray's team is in pretty decent position here, with the exception of that Yamato kind of barreling ahead. If you're a battleship player and you're in a very forward position 12 minutes or 3 minutes into the game, you have to rethink your strategy there, as we can see that Yamato is down to about 10,000 health. So I guess it's better than having a useless battleship player sit in the back of the map, which happens all the time. But regardless, Ray is focusing on this Lepanto here. That the poor Lepanto got nerfed recently, so she is not able to push in as aggressively. In the meantime, though, Ray is just kind of hanging out here in the back, seeing what targets he can affect. He has that Lepanto on fire. Ray gets fairly, not lucky, but the RNG was in Ray's favor with the fires, and we will talk about that later. But here, Ray decides to go ahead and move in at just the worst time. I was watching this back, and not that Ray gets lucky. Ray is a very smart player and positions himself well, but the torpedo planes come in as Mr. Hippers Don't Lie, I love that name, finishes off that Lepanto. But there is that Yamato, and now Ray is in a pretty sticky situation. Why? Because that Hakuryu can just drop multiple planes. Now Ray put up his fighter for an excellent use of getting that one plane shot down. You will see the separate icon here in a moment as he's also shooting down the fighters. But if that Yamato was kind of looking over the islands here, he could potentially lob Ray, but that is why Ray is not making a complete turn. He was looking at the guns of the Yamato and remaining semi-angled, and that is when the carrier drops his planes, and the Yamato took a shot, but he's also semi-covered by this island here. So he goes ahead and makes his turn while also shooting at the same time. An excellent use of, multitasking, right? An excellent example of multitasking. Ray is dodging planes. He's remaining angled to potential huge threats and battleships. He's also continuing to pump out the HE and keep targets on fire, which is the strength of the Drake. And here, this next part I actually got a good chuckle out of, because we all know that the British the British cruisers and the British destroyers have access to single fire torpedoes. You can single launch them here, as Ray does, and every time I feel like I single launch, with the exception of one clip that I can probably tell you right off the top of my head, I have never hit more than 1 or 2 single fire torpedoes. Now, that being said, I still think it's a better strategy to quad launch, or what they call widespread, even though the British widespread is like a narrow or a normal spread, because you're increasing surface area, and especially with a ship like the Drake, when you can combine the fire chance that these guns have, and most likely a flood. If you get at least one hit, then that combination usually proves deadly. But as you can see, these torpedoes are tracking pretty well, and this Yamato made one of the most glorious Powerball Mega Millions type turns I've ever seen. Ray is actually going to connect all 4 torpedoes. I've never seen that. I think I saw that in a Spartan video once a long time ago, but that is an instant Damacon from that Yamato, and Ray has racked up a decent damage total here, and by very skillfully launching those torpedoes. So Ray, I hope you win the Mega Millions, buddy. But also in the meantime, Ray went ahead and got that permanent fire, and that's what I meant earlier by, I feel like when I'm in the Drake, it just RNG is not on my sides. It's probably one of those mental things. When you're relying on the fire, now yes, of course, 234 millimeter guns do punch and have a decent amount of HE penetration, but to me, the 15-second reload, other than the Brindisi or something like that, there's literally every other cruiser can do what the Drake can do, but better. The Buffalo, the Petro, the Donskoy. The Donskoy is one of the sneaky good cruisers at the tier. We saw my Rune video, the Ibuki. The Brindisi, again, is the other one that kind of lacks a little bit of that utility. But regardless here, Ray is just pumping out the DPM, doing the best that the Drake can do. And here, it's working, right? He has taken a lot of damage. Again, we talked about attracting damage. He's also dished out 119k here. He's almost, got a ×4 booster. Now, this moment, I will say, is one where this is probably the only thing I would have done different, and that would have been switched to the AP here. The Drake has some fantastic AP, but Ray, you got to play the Mega Millions, and you got to give me like a good chunk, because Ray unloads on this Des Moines here and gets multiple fires. But you can see that Mr. Popcorn here, who has done a pretty decent job. We've talked about it before as the enemy Alaska eliminates their Jutland, so Ray's team is up pretty good, but don't worry, they make it a lot more interesting. That is when the Montana eliminates Mr. Hippers Don't Lie there, and you'll notice Mr. Popcorn is in the Z right there. He's very low, but he has done his job, right? He's trying to spot, he's throwing out torpedoes. It is very difficult in a destroyer when the game mode does not capture the base. I absolutely hate when I'm in a destroyer and I get capture the base. But there is another shot, only one connected, but Ray gets another fire. That new CC RNG is really paying dividends. Just wait till you're seasoned, Ray. They take it away from you. No, I'm just kidding. As I say that though, Ray gets another 5 hits, 4 of which being penetrations, and another fire, at which point the Des Moines puts that out. In this situation, I probably would have shot AP. The cruiser Chad in me with that always likes to choose AP in the wrong situations, as Ray gets another fire. That one's permanent. I would have definitely, chose AP at least one of those salvos, but as you can see, the HE is not a wrong choice at all. 73 target hits, 9 fires with 4 torpedo hits, and the Drake is just pumping out DPM as some shells land short. Shells don't land short, right? It's kind of funny with all the different, theories out there. I still think shells do land a touch short, especially when you're shooting over islands, especially on targets going away from you. Obviously, we have to lead those, and I think auto aim puts them right at the water line. So if you're obstructed by an island and you can't see, then of course they'll land short. But explaining things, why would we want to do that? Let's just make up things. But Ray gets another 6 penetrations, and I feel like Ray has been robbed on a significant amount of finishing touches, especially that kill on that Yamato, and obviously on the Des Moines there. But Ray took a blind fire, and unfortunately it did not hit. Always take your blind fires. They're really fun, when you hit them. But here Ray is making the smart decision, just kind of holding this island. This has been a little bit of a slow game, and if it would have been domination, Ray would have had much more to do, as their Alaska smartly makes his way into the enemy base to tick their points in their favor. If you did not know, in Capture the Base, points are always ticking. You can see the little clock on the blue flag go up there to, you can see it to 377, and you can see that the red flag is not. That is because the Alaska is in the base. So if they were to tie on ships, pending one ship, for example, battleships are worth more than cruisers, one of those point values was not different, then the blue team would win if they were tied on ships, which is actually how I have like 3 or 4 draws under my belt. And as we were explaining that, Ray actually got another fire on the Montana. I need this RNG, Ray. How much did you give Robin? Or was it Blick? Or was it Orochi? Who did you pay to get this RNG? But no, seriously, guys, the Drake, when you can get, this RNG, the torp hits, and the attracted damage can be a very, very powerful ship, especially when angling. I think some people just immediately discount a ship, sailing broadside, which the British heavies, I actually have a surprising win rate in. I don't have that many games, but my win rate in the Albemarle is like 80% or something like that. So these ships can be very impactful when played correctly. I do think the Drake would have been equal with the other ships with the radar. Now, of course, the statistics and all of the spreadsheets and stuff are going to say otherwise, but I'm just a seasoned veteran. What do I know? While I was blabbering, though, you guys should have been paying attention to Ray's position. Now, obviously, there's a carrier in this match, which kind of ruins, island cover, but Ray has smartly positioned himself here to where he cannot really get shot by this Montana. Now, there is an Alaska in the enemy base, which was stopping the enemy's point influx, which is kind of a smart play. If you guys did not know, in Capture the Base, there are points ticking at all time. You can see it occurring now. But if you sit in the enemy base, then you stop that influx. Also, I believe the red team would have been ahead if that Alaska did not get in the base, due to the fact that battleships are worth more. So just something for you to keep in mind when you are playing the worst game mode. But there is the I Hate Battleships medal, aka the Witherer medal, the I Make Battleships Cry to Facebook medal. So I think that is 60,000 damage worth of pure fire damage. Truly toxic, especially from a ship with a 15-second reload, but sometimes that's in your advantage if battleships put out single fires. And there was another 7 hits, but unfortunately it did not get the kill as 3 of those shells shattered, and in the meantime Ray actually ticked the high caliber as another salvo enters the screen there from that Montana and chunks Ray for a little bit. Here's the part where I just truly hate the Drake. She's so non-maneuverable, and Ray was actually in a pretty tough spot right here. I do have to commend him for getting out of this position. Why? Because that last salvo missed that Montana. He also has a carrier to deal with. And at the same time, I'm not sure what his carrier is doing. I'm sure if he was streaming right now, he would have been like, dude, what are you doing? But make sure you guys check out his streams. He's pretty chill. He's pretty fun. But yeah, just a tough spot. If that carrier would have either thrown some fighters or... Are there fighters on the screen? I don't think so, but... Anyway, no, he threw them behind him. I see them now. Look, they're behind him. Good job, carrier. Well, at least he knows to throw them down. And also, if you just saw that plane-to-plane icon, that is the icon you get for throwing up your spotter plane, your fighter plane. You can get an additional little bit of air coverage, at least 1 fighter kill. But Ray actually gets a touch lucky in the fact that Montana did not shoot when he was broadside, but we all need just that one hit of luck, right? And there is another turn at the last moment as Sherman decides to push ahead. Not exactly sure why. He probably could have stayed back and finished Ray. Now, of course, as we already mentioned, as Ray misses out on another kill, that the Alaska ticked the points in their favor. So if there's just 2 carriers left, then of course the blue team is going to win due to the Alaska being in their base. But Sherman actually gets in their base. So it's a catch-22 of what to do here. Now, again, I in my mind, I'm thinking AP. As Ray is desperately pinging the carrier to help him spot the enemy carrier. No idea what, like I said, sometimes carrier players are just, what does Flamu say? Animal research. Also, as Ray was a carrier main on PC, he's probably like, dude, do your job. But Ray gets he launched those torps a little bit ago, and I swear Sherman should have dodged those. But 3 torpedo hits, bracketing the length of the Hakuryu there. Can we get an LOL or something in chat for Ray hitting more torpedoes than I ever would have or ever will in a cruiser? So actually, we have a clip coming up of an epic, just one of the most fun moments I've ever got recording. But Ray is doing his best to dodge. shooting down close to, what, 36, 37 planes now, if you count the fighter-to-fighter kill, 38 planes. And I don't think the Drake has that good of AA, but regardless, Ray is trying to turn his turrets here and trying to get that last permanent fire. We're guessing it's been around 60 seconds there. It's also very important sometimes to look at the clock when you get a damage con on carriers, because damage cons are automatic and they last for 60 seconds. So for example, if you get one at 2:52 on the clock, at 1:52, you can get that permanent fire or flood or, you know, whatever. But Ray is just trying to finish this game off as it ends. Unfortunately, he cannot get the kill. Robbed of, I think, 3 kills, but gets the Dreadnought anyway. The Drake is a Dreadnought printer. That super heal is fantastic. And a 37-10 with a 225,000 finisher there. 7 torpedoes, 38 planes. Just a great overall game showing the strength of the Drake. Now, again, if this was domination, I feel like Ray's score would have been like 4,200 with the defend ribbons, but such is life, right? But that is the Drake, guys. Make sure you guys check out Ray's channel. I hope everyone has a fantastic Friday, an epic replay. So thank you, Ray, for giving me this Friday feature. Guys, we've got a few games coming up, and then we're kind of running dry. I do have to give a Friday feature to my guy, Mr. Girthquake. I have another gentleman who messaged me about a Congress, Mr. B.A. Bad. I've got to put a replay up from him. But yeah, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching these Friday features, especially if you've made it to this point in the video. So you guys are the homies, and I love you guys. But make sure you guys like the videos. Also, make sure you check out Ray's channel. Subscribe to both if you're not already. You guys have a fantastic Friday. I'm out. Peace.